Bus driver's shocking accusation against black girl. Dad's call to police unveils stunning secret. Nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, the picturesque town of Meadowgrove was home to the Carter family. Harold Carter, a dedicated single father, worked tirelessly as a software engineer to provide for his two children, 15-year-old Maya and her 12-year-old brother, Jamie. The Carters were a close-knit family, bound together by love, laughter, and a shared history of both joy and sorrow. Harold had met his wife, Angela, during their college years at a civil rights rally. Angela was a passionate and charismatic activist, her eyes burning with a fierce determination to fight against injustice and inequality. Harold was drawn to her like a moth to a flame, and they soon became inseparable. Together, they dedicated themselves to the struggle for social justice, participating in protests, organizing community events, and advocating for policy changes. After graduation, Harold and Angela settled down in Meadowgrove, where they started their family. Maya was born first, her arrival filling their lives with an indescribable joy. 3 years later, Jamie came along, his laughter and energy completing their family unit. Angela continued her activism, often bringing Maya and Jamie along to rallies and meetings, instilling in them a deep sense of empathy and a strong desire for justice. However, the Carter family's world was turned upside down when Angela was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Despite her valiant fight, she passed away 5 years ago, leaving behind a devastated husband and 2 grief-stricken children. In the wake of her passing, Harold vowed to honor Angela's legacy by raising their children to be strong, compassionate, and brave individuals who would carry on her work and make a difference in the world. Maya, now a bright and outgoing teenager, embodied her mother's spirit. She was an exceptional student at Meadowgrove High School, excelling in her classes and actively participating in various clubs and organizations. Her passion for social justice was evident in everything she did, from organizing fundraisers for local charities to speaking out against injustice in her school and community. Maya's daily routine included a bus ride to and from school, a journey she shared with many of her peers. The bus driver, Mr. Thompson, was a stern, elderly man with a reputation for his strict demeanor and rigid adherence to the rules. Maya had noticed that Mr. Thompson often singled out students of color, subjecting them to harsher treatment and unfair accusations. She had shared these observations with her father, who had encouraged her to focus on her studies and rise above any negativity. However, the situation was about to reach a boiling point, forcing the Carter family to confront the ugly reality of discrimination and prejudice in their seemingly idyllic town. The leaves were beginning to change color as autumn approached, casting a warm glow over Meadowgrove. One sunny afternoon in late September, Maya returned home from school, her usual cheer replaced by a somber expression that immediately caught Harold's attention. He was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when she walked in, her shoulders slumped and her eyes downcast. Harold turned to face her, concern etched on his face. "What's wrong, sweetheart? You look like you've had a rough day." Maya hesitated, her lower lip trembling slightly before she spoke. "It's Mr. Thompson again, Dad. Today he accused me of stealing a wallet. He searched my bag in front of everyone on the bus and made me feel humiliated. He does this all the time, picking on me and other kids of color, but today was just the worst." A surge of anger coursed through Harold's veins, but he remained calm, knowing that his daughter needed his support and understanding. "Tell me exactly what happened, Maya. I need to know all the details." Maya took a deep breath, her voice trembling with emotion as she recounted the day's events. "So, we were on the bus, heading home, and everything seemed normal at first. Then, suddenly, Mr. Thompson pulled the bus over and turned off the engine. He stood up and said that a wallet had been reported missing and that he was going to search our bags until he found it." She paused, her eyes welling up with tears. "He started with me, Dad. He made me stand up and empty my backpack in front of everyone. He went through all my stuff, even my personal things. It was so embarrassing. And the worst part is he didn't find anything. There was no wallet in my bag, but he still made me feel like a criminal." Harold listened intently, his resolve growing with each word. "What happened next, Maya?" After he finished searching my bag, he moved on to some of the other kids. He only searched the bags of the black and brown students, though. It was like he had already made up his mind about who was guilty. Some of the other kids started whispering and pointing at us, like we were all criminals. It was awful, Dad. I've never felt so humiliated and angry in my life. Harold's heart ached for his daughter, and he knew that he had to take action to protect her and ensure that this injustice did not continue. "I'm so sorry that you had to go through that, Maya. We're going to do something about this, I promise. But first, I need to know if anyone else saw what happened. Were there any witnesses?" Maya nodded, her expression determined. "Yes, there were plenty of witnesses. My friends Sarah and Jade were on the bus, and they saw everything. They even tried to stand up for me, but Mr. Thompson threatened to kick them off the bus if they didn't sit down and be quiet. There were other kids who saw it too, and I'm sure they'll back me up if you need them to." Harold felt a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that he had the support of witnesses and the strength of his daughter's conviction. "Okay, Maya, I'm going to make some calls and see what we can do about this. In the meantime, I want you to write down everything that happened today, including the names of any witnesses who can corroborate your story. We need to have a clear record of the events to present to the authorities." Maya agreed, her eyes filled with gratitude and relief. "Thank you, Dad. I knew you would know what to do. I just want to make sure that Mr. Thompson can't do this to anyone else ever again." Over the next few days, Harold decided to investigate the matter further. He reached out to other parents in the community, both those he knew personally and others he contacted through the school's parent-teacher association. What he discovered was a disturbing pattern of discriminatory behavior exhibited by Mr. Thompson. Many students, particularly those of color, had experienced similar treatment, ranging from unfair accusations to verbal harassment. One parent shared how their child had been accused of vandalizing the bus, only for it to be later proven that the damage was pre-existing. Another recounted how their child had been repeatedly singled out for minor infractions such as talking too loudly or not sitting still, while other students engaged in the same behaviors without consequence. Harold also learned that Mr. Thompson had been the subject of complaints in the past, but the school had never taken any significant action against him. This realization fueled Harold's determination to seek justice for his daughter and the other students who had been subjected to Mr. Thompson's prejudiced behavior. He knew that he had to gather as much evidence as possible to build a strong case against the bus driver and force the school to take action. One evening, as Harold sat at his computer, compiling the information he had gathered, he received an email from a parent whose child had graduated from Meadow Grove High School the previous year. The parent shared a chilling account of their child's experiences with Mr. Thompson, detailing a pattern of harassment and discrimination that had ultimately driven the student to transfer to a different school. The email read, in part, "Dear Mr. Carter, I heard about what happened to your daughter, Maya, and I wanted to reach out to you to share our family's experience with Mr. Thompson. My son, Marcus, was a student at Meadow Grove High School last year, and he had numerous run-ins with Mr. Thompson. It started with small things, like Mr. Thompson accusing Marcus of being too loud or not following the rules. But over time, the accusations became more serious. Mr. Thompson would often single Marcus out, searching his bag or accusing him of things he didn't do. It got to the point where Marcus dreaded going to school, and his grades began to suffer. We complained to the school several times, but they never took any meaningful action. They always said that they would look into it, but nothing ever came of it. Eventually, we decided to transfer Marcus to a different school, where he has thrived. I hope that our story can help in some way, and I'm more than willing to speak to the school or the authorities about our experiences. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to support your family during this difficult time. Sincerely, parents named Harold was shocked and appalled by the email's contents, but it also strengthened his resolve to put an end to Mr. Thompson's reign of terror. He knew that he had to act quickly and decisively to protect not only his daughter, but all the students who had been targeted by the bus driver's discriminatory behavior. Armed with the information he had gathered, Harold decided to take action. He called the police and reported Mr. Thompson's behavior, detailing the incidents that Maya and other students had experienced. The officer who took his statement, a young woman named Officer Martinez, listened attentively as Harold recounted the events and presented the evidence he had compiled. Officer Martinez assured Harold that the police would investigate the matter thoroughly and take appropriate action based on their findings. She also encouraged him to file a formal complaint with the school district, which Harold did immediately after hanging up the phone. The news of Harold's decision spread quickly through Meadowgrove, dividing the town into those who supported his actions and those who saw it as an overreaction. Some residents argued that Mr. Thompson was simply doing his job and that the students were exaggerating their experiences. Others, however, recognized the seriousness of the allegations and stood firmly behind the Carter family. The school board, meanwhile, could not ignore the allegations against one of their employees. They launched an official investigation into Mr. Thompson's conduct and suspended him pending the outcome of the inquiry. This decision further polarized the town, with some residents expressing their support for the Carters and others rallying behind Mr. Thompson. Maya faced significant backlash at school as a result of her father's actions. Some students accused her of exaggerating her experiences or seeking attention, while others stood by her, offering their support and sharing their own stories of mistreatment. Despite the tension and hostility she encountered, Maya remained steadfast in her determination to see justice served. She drew strength from her mother's legacy and her father's unwavering support, refusing to back down in the face of adversity. One day, as Maya walked through the crowded hallway of Meadowgrove High School, she overheard a group of students whispering about her. They cast sidelong glances in her direction, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. Maya held her head high, determined not to let their judgment deter her from her mission. As she approached her locker, she noticed a small group of her friends gathered nearby, their faces etched with concern. Sarah, a petite girl with fiery red hair, stepped forward and placed a comforting hand on Maya's shoulder. "Hey, Maya," Sarah said softly. "How are you holding up?" Maya offered her friends a small smile, grateful for their support. "I'm okay, thanks. It's been a tough week, but I'm not going to let it get to me. I know that what we're doing is important, and I won't let anything stop us." Jade, a tall, athletic girl with dark skin and piercing eyes, nodded in agreement. "You're right, Maya. We can't let them silence us. We have to stand up for what's right, no matter what happens." Maya's friends had been instrumental in helping her navigate the challenges she faced at school. They had stood by her side, offering their support and encouragement, and even helping to gather evidence and witnesses to bolster her case against Mr. Thompson. Together, they formed a united front, determined to see justice served and to bring about meaningful change in their school and community. Meanwhile, Jamie, who had always looked up to his sister, began to experience anxiety and emotional distress as a result of the events unfolding around him. He worried about Maya's safety and the potential repercussions of her actions, both for her and their family. Harold noticed the changes in Jamie's behavior and decided to enroll him in therapy sessions with a child psychologist to help him cope with his feelings and develop healthy strategies for managing his anxiety. Through his therapy sessions, Jamie began to open up about his fears and insecurities, finding solace in the supportive environment provided by his therapist, Dr. Patel. He discussed his concerns about Maya's safety, the potential backlash their family might face, and his own feelings of helplessness in the face of the injustices they were confronting. Dr. Patel listened attentively, offering Jamie guidance and encouragement as he worked through his emotions. She taught him various techniques for managing his anxiety, such as deep breathing exercises, mindfulness practices, and cognitive behavioral strategies. Over time, Jamie began to feel more in control of his emotions and better equipped to handle the challenges that came his way. As Jamie's confidence grew, he became more involved in the advocacy efforts led by his sister and her friends. He attended meetings, participated in discussions, and even helped to create posters and flyers promoting their cause. This increased involvement not only strengthened the bond between Jamie and Maya but also allowed him to channel his anxiety into productive action. One evening, as the family sat down to dinner, Jamie shared his thoughts on the situation and his newfound sense of purpose. "You know, Dad, I've been thinking a lot about what's been happening with Maya and Mr. Thompson. At first, I was really scared and worried about what might happen to us. But now, I feel like I understand why we have to do this. We can't just stand by and let people like Mr. Thompson get away with treating others unfairly. Harold smiled at his son, his heart swelling with pride. I'm so glad to hear you say that, Jamie. It's important for all of us to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult or scary. Your mother always believed in the power of speaking out against injustice, and I know she would be incredibly proud of both you and Maya for the work you're doing. Maya reached across the table and squeezed Jamie's hand, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. Thank you, Jamie. It means so much to me to have your support. Together, we can make a real difference in our school and community. Throughout the ordeal, Harold and Maya's bond grew stronger than ever. They spent countless hours discussing the case, the importance of standing up for what's right, and the legacy of Maya's mother, Angela. Through these conversations, Maya gained a deeper understanding of her mother's activism and the power of her own voice in the ongoing struggle for justice and equality. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Harold shared stories of Angela's early activism, recalling the passion and determination that had driven her to fight for what she believed in. Maya listened intently, her eyes filled with admiration and pride. You know, Maya, Harold said, his voice soft and reflective. Your mother always said that the most important thing in life is to stand up for what you believe in, even when it's hard, even when it's scary. She would be so proud of you for what you're doing right now. Maya smiled, her heart swelling with love and gratitude. Thank you, Dad. I just want to make a difference like she did. I want to help create a world where people like Mr. Thompson can't get away with treating others unfairly. Harold nodded, his expression serious. And that's exactly what we're going to do, Maya. Together, we're going to make sure that justice is served and that our community becomes a safer, more equitable place for everyone. Maya also grew closer to her peers who supported her, forming a tight-knit group of friends who shared her passion for social justice. Together, they began to organize and advocate for change within the school system, calling for greater accountability and transparency in the handling of discrimination and harassment cases. This newfound sense of purpose and community empowered Maya and her friends, allowing them to channel their experiences into positive action. One day, as Maya and her friends gathered in the school library to discuss their plans, Sarah suggested that they form an official club dedicated to promoting social justice and advocating for change within their school. The idea was met with enthusiastic agreement from the rest of the group, and they quickly set to work drafting a mission statement and outlining their goals and objectives. The club, which they named Students for Justice and Equality, SJE, aimed to raise awareness about issues of discrimination and inequality within the school and community, as well as to advocate for policy changes and provide support to students who had experienced injustice. Through their efforts, Maya and her friends hoped to create a more inclusive and supportive environment for all students, regardless of their background or identity. The school board's investigation into Mr. Thompson's conduct lasted several weeks, during which time numerous students and parents came forward to share their experiences and provide testimony. The investigators meticulously documented each account, building a comprehensive case against the bus driver. As the evidence mounted, it became increasingly clear that Mr. Thompson's behavior was part of a long-standing pattern of discrimination and harassment. A public hearing was scheduled to present the findings of the investigation and allow both sides to make their case. The hearing was held in the school's auditorium, with hundreds of people in attendance, including students, parents, teachers, and members of the local media. The atmosphere was tense and emotionally charged, as one by one, students stepped forward to testify about their experiences with Mr. Thompson. Maya was among the last to speak, her voice steady and confident as she recounted the events that had led to this moment. She described the humiliation she had felt when Mr. Thompson searched her bag, the anger and frustration that had grown within her as she witnessed his treatment of other students, and the determination that had ultimately driven her to speak out against his actions. As she spoke, the auditorium fell silent, the weight of her words resonating with all those present. I stand before you today not just as a victim of Mr. Thompson's discriminatory behavior, but as a voice for all those who have been silenced, marginalized, and mistreated. Maya declared, her eyes scanning the crowd. We deserve better. We deserve to be treated with respect and dignity, and we deserve to live and learn in an environment free from harassment and discrimination. As Maya concluded her testimony, the auditorium erupted in applause, the sound echoing through the room like a thunderclap. The school board members exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of admiration and determination. It was clear that Maya's words had struck a chord, and that the time for change had come. Following the public hearing, the school board convened to deliberate on the evidence presented and reach a decision regarding Mr. Thompson's employment. After several hours of intense discussion, the board voted unanimously to terminate Mr. Thompson's contract, citing his repeated violations of the school's anti-discrimination policies and the harm he had caused to numerous students. However, the decision was not without controversy. Mr. Thompson's supporters, many of whom were longtime residents of Meadowgrove, protested the school board's actions, arguing that the bus driver had been unfairly targeted and that the allegations against him were unfounded. This backlash resulted in a series of heated public meetings and demonstrations, further dividing the town and creating a tense atmosphere for the Carter family. In the face of this growing hostility, Harold remained resolute in his determination to protect his family and ensure their safety. He filed a restraining order against those who had made threats against the Carters and installed a state-of-the-art security system at their home. He also reached out to local law enforcement, who agreed to provide additional patrols in the Carters' neighborhood to deter any potential acts of violence or intimidation. Meanwhile, Maya and her friends continued their advocacy efforts, working tirelessly to promote awareness and understanding of the issues surrounding discrimination and harassment. They organized workshops, panel discussions, and community events designed to educate their peers and foster a more inclusive and supportive environment within the school system. Through their efforts, they began to see a shift in the attitudes and behaviors of those around them, as more and more students and teachers rallied behind their cause. One of the most significant initiatives spearheaded by the Students for Justice and Equality Club was a school-wide assembly focused on the themes of empathy, understanding, and unity. The assembly featured guest speakers, including civil rights activists, educators, and community leaders, who shared their insights and experiences on the importance of standing up for what's right and working together to create a more just and equitable society. The assembly also included performances by students, such as poetry readings, musical acts, and dramatic skits, all centered around the themes of social justice and equality. The event was a resounding success, drawing praise from students, teachers, and administrators alike, and serving as a powerful reminder of the importance of unity and understanding in the face of adversity. The turning point in the Carter family's ordeal came when the local newspaper, the Meadowgrove Gazette, published an in-depth exposé on Mr. Thompson's past. The article, written by an investigative journalist who had been following the case closely, revealed a history of similar behavior in other school districts, where Mr. Thompson had been employed. The story detailed numerous incidents of discrimination and harassment, as well as the efforts made by previous employers to sweep these incidents under the rug. The publication of the exposé had a profound impact on public opinion in Meadowgrove. As the true extent of Mr. Thompson's actions became clear, the tide of support began to shift in favor of the Carter family. The threats and harassment they had been experiencing gradually subsided, and the town began to come together in a show of unity and solidarity against discrimination and injustice. In the wake of the exposé, the school board took further action to address the issues that had been brought to light. They implemented a series of policy changes aimed at preventing and addressing discriminatory behavior within the school system, including mandatory diversity training for all staff members, the establishment of a confidential reporting system for students to report incidents of harassment and discrimination, and the creation of a task force dedicated to promoting inclusivity and equity within the school community. These changes were met with widespread approval from students, parents, and teachers alike, who saw them as a significant step forward in the ongoing struggle for justice and equality. The Carter family, too, welcomed the changes, recognizing them as a testament to the power of their advocacy and the importance of their work in the community. In the aftermath of the exposé and the school board's decision, Maya found herself reflecting on the journey she had undertaken and the personal growth she had experienced. She realized that, through her actions, she had not only brought about change in her school and community, but had also discovered her own strength and resilience. She understood now, more than ever, the power of her voice and the importance of standing up for what was right, even in the face of adversity. One day, as she sat in her room, surrounded by the mementos and memories of her mother's activism, Maya felt a profound sense of connection to Angela's legacy. She knew that her mother had faced similar challenges and had fought tirelessly for the causes she believed in. Maya felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination, knowing that she was carrying on her mother's work and honoring her memory through her own actions. Harold, too, experienced a profound sense of growth and reflection as a result of the events that had unfolded. He had always been a devoted father, but the challenges they had faced together had taught him the importance of balancing protection with empowerment. He had learned to trust in his daughter's strength and to support her as she found her own path in the world. One evening, as Harold and Maya sat together in the living room, Harold shared his thoughts on the journey they had undertaken and the lessons they had learned. "You know, Maya, when all of this started, I never imagined that it would lead us here. But now, looking back, I can see that every step of the way has been a testament to your strength, your courage, and your unwavering commitment to justice." Maya smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Thank you, Dad. I couldn't have done any of this without your support. You've been there for me every step of the way, and I'm so grateful for everything you've done to help me find my voice and stand up for what's right." Harold nodded, his expression serious. "And that's exactly what we're going to continue to do, Maya. Together, we're going to keep fighting for justice and equality, no matter what challenges come our way. Because that's who we are, and that's what your mother would want us to do." As the Carter family emerged from their ordeal stronger and more united than ever, the themes of standing up for what's right and the power of community resonated throughout Meadow Grove. Maya's courage in speaking out against injustice had sparked a movement within the town, inspiring others to stand up for their beliefs and advocate for change. The Carter family continued to be a beacon of hope and strength in their community, working tirelessly to promote justice and equality for all. They knew that the struggle was far from over, but they also knew that, together, they could face any challenge and overcome any obstacle. In the end, the legacy of Angela Carter lived on in the hearts and minds of her family and the community they had touched. Her spirit of activism and her unwavering commitment to justice had been passed down to her children, who now carried her torch forward, lighting the way for a brighter, more equitable future for all. The story of the Carter family serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up for what's right, even in the face of adversity, and the transformative power of community and unity in the struggle for justice and equality. Through their journey, the Carters demonstrated that, with courage, determination, and the support of those around them, they could overcome even the most daunting challenges and bring about meaningful change in their world.